Imagine you are aiming for a salary adjustment, a process that requires approvals from different managers at your workplace. First, you present your case to your team lead, who evaluates your performance and decides if your request should move forward. If they agree, your request goes next to the line manager. The line manager considers the technical contributions you've made and whether they justify the adjustment you are seeking. With their approval, your request finally reaches the HR manager, the last stop. The HR manager reviews everything from a policy and budget perspective to make the final decision. This sequential process is a straightforward example of the chain of responsibility pattern in action, where each manager acts as a link in the chain, handling their part of the process before passing the request along. Understanding the chain of responsibility pattern through such a relatable example sets the stage for what we're diving into today. In this video, we'll take this concept from theory to practice by building a simple Java application. Our goal? To solve the salary adjustment request process efficiently using the chain of responsibility pattern. Let's dive in. I'll start by creating a new project in IntelliJ, which I'll name Compensation Chain. For the build tool, I'll use Maven, ensuring our project management and build processes are streamlined and efficient. As for the JDK version, I'll be using 21. After configuring the initial setup and creating the compensation chain project with Maven and JDK 21, we move on to structuring our project's directories for optimal organization. The first step in this process is creating a model directory at the root of our project. This directory is crucial as it keeps the classes that represent the core concept of our application. For our example, one such class is a salary adjustment request. The salary adjustment request class will serve as the primary data structure through which salary adjustment information is passed along the chain of responsibility. It will encapsulate all the necessary details such as employee's name, current salary, requested raise, and any other relevant information needed by each handler in the chain to make a decision. Now that we've outlined the salary adjustment request class with its essential fields, let's quickly set up a constructor and the necessary getters and setters. This setup ensures our class can be instantiated with initial values and its properties safely accessed and modified. With this, we are now ready for the next phase, implementing the chain of responsibility pattern to efficiently process salary adjustment requests. To keep our project organized, we'll create a new directory named handler within our project structure. This directory will house all the different handler classes as well as a common interface that these handlers classes will implement. Let's call this interface compensation handler. The setNextHandler method is a link to the next handler in the chain, allowing a structured pass-through of requests for approval or further action. The handler request method is where each handler assesses the salary adjustment request, deciding either to approve it based on the criteria or to forward it to the next handler for further evaluation, maintaining the flow of the decision-making process. In any company, your first point of contact for approval processes is usually your direct supervisor. In our scenario, this role is played by the team lead. We'll create the team lead handler class to serve as the initial decision maker by evaluating requests based on the team lead's approval or rejection. Upon receiving a request, it prompts the user, presumably the team lead, to approve or reject the salary adjustment for the specific employee. If the user approves, the request is positively acknowledged and the team lead handler forwards the request to the next handler in the chain for further evaluation, typically the line manager. Opposite, if the request is rejected, the process halts, and a message indicating budget constraints is displayed. Next in the chain is the line manager. It will also implement the compensation handler interface. This class is basically a copy of team lead handler in structure, but differs in its evaluation focus. The line manager evaluates the request based on the employee's technical contributions and the value they bring to the team and company. Approval from this handler means the request has merit beyond just the initial approval by the team lead and is worthy of consideration from a larger perspective. If the line manager approves the request, it is then forwarded to the HR manager, the final authority in the chain, who will consider it from a policy and budget perspective. On the other hand, if the request is denied, the process is halted and appropriate feedback is provided. Continuing the process, the HR manager handler class also bonds to the compensation handler interface. This handler estimates the request from a policy and budgetary standpoint, ensuring it aligns with company guidelines and financial capabilities. If approved by the HR manager, the request is finalized, marking the successful navigation through the entire approval chain. Opposite, a rejection at this stage halts the process entirely, with the HR manager providing final feedback for the decision. To conclude our demonstration, we'll modify the main class. First, we need to initialize all three handler objects. Then, we need to set a chain of responsibility. Finally, let's create a sample salary adjustment request. In our first run, by entering yes at each stage, we successfully navigated the request through all levels, showcasing the pattern's effectiveness in handling approvals sequentially. In a second scenario, we explored the rejection path. The team lead and line manager both approved the request, but upon reaching the HR manager and receiving a no, the process was terminated, illustrating the system's capability to halt the progression based on budget constraints, thereby demonstrating the flexibility and control provided by the chain of responsibility pattern in managing decisions flows within an organization. If you enjoyed this video, you might find my tutorials on using the observer pattern to build a weather app or a strategy pattern for a delivery management system interesting. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.